All right, welcome guys to another Aurora Exchange episode. I have Cassie Tsolis with me all the way from Los Angeles. We've never actually met before, well, physically anyway, but we were in the same team, our Aurora Alliance, and that's where I met her, and we just basically connected through that. So guys, she's just gonna take it away. She's really excited. So Cassie, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Yeah, so my name's Cassie. I am currently in LA. I grew up north, like San Jose area in California. Yeah, I'm a crumper, also diving into different styles. And I really connected with Nadiah just through talking about movement, talking about healing, and talking about spaces where we can really show up fully as ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so like today I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of my history, my story, and hoping that it will connect to whoever is listening. So, yes.
Yay! I'm so excited. All right, so we're gonna go really like deep into it straight away. I would love for you to share your story. Yeah. What got you to where you are now?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yes, I have a lot of energy, so there might be moments where I'm like, whoosh. Yeah.
That's all good.
Yeah, so I think for me, in regards to movement, I first really fell in love with movement with my grandmother. We call her Yaya in our culture. So she was somebody that would just kind of dance in our living room and teach us like the traditional dances of our culture. Yeah, so from there, I was really introduced to like this communal space of like welcomeness and movement. And as I got older, I was a part of, I saw friends do like shows and performances, and I got to be a part of competitive teams and then like dance teams and the different crews. But yeah, when I was in college though, I think part of the counseling and like the healing, the inner growth side that really spoke to me was I was the first in my family to go to college. And I wanted to be a counselor to help other students that didn't have the resources to succeed and to make it to college, and really, because it's hard. That stuff is so hard.
Yeah.
So I originally went to school for psychology and to study in that. And then about halfway through my college years, I started to embark on like a spiritual journey and trying to figure out like, who am I? What do I believe in? Like, what's my purpose? Mm-hmm. And through that, I resonated more with, believing in God. And so I started building a relationship that way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that just kind of opened my eyes, opened my perspective. And I think, honestly, when I started believing in God was when I started seeing like, wow, there's a lot of healing that's needs in my life,
So what did you feel prior to that?
Honestly, prior to that, life just felt like, if I could put it in illustration, like life just felt like black and white. It just felt like more, okay, I have work, I have school, but there was no like alive connectedness, almost like a numb feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no excitement. It's just like plain. Yeah. That's too crazy. I think we all experience that. We just get that wake up call like, whoa, what am I doing? Yeah.
And I especially think like in the years where it could be in school or just, I feel like in your 20s, you start to really think like, dang, like what is my life really for? Mm-hmm. And those were some of the deeper questions. And I also think in your 20s, as for me, a lot of like my childhood, like pain and also joys just like came up in a new way that I was like, yo, like I have to face this and walk through it if I want to like live life fully,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so then where did you go from there?
Yeah, so from there, I was a part of a nonprofit for 4 years where I actually cultivated space for college students to talk about spirituality, talk about leadership, and talk about social justice, and really just grow as like a wholesome individual. But then after that, I just felt like a big shift, and I left everything, like community, job, a relationship, for coming to LA. It was crazy.
Okay, so you weren't living in LA before that?
No.
Okay, here we go.
Yes. I moved to LA just 3 years ago. Yeah, and that's when I moved to LA was like me deciding I'm gonna take dance seriously. Like I think it's a career, and therefore I'm gonna step into it. And for me, when I first came to LA, I was a part of this church called Life 150, and the pastors were actually dancers in the industry. So they had known like the whole dance world. But just the crazy thing is I went to this church, and a crumper was there because he goes to that church, and he's from the Bad News fam. His name was J-Bad.
Oh,
And
crazy.
he's like, Cassie, he's like, you know what you're doing is crump. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, that's crump. And I was like, yo, this is insane. Because honestly, all was doing was like, they call this like the day one arm swings.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah. And so from there, it was just like a really beautiful, just networks, because it was like J-Bad, then the Beast Fam, then DC and FUD, like just incredible community. So
lucky you just like stepped into it straight away.
Yeah. And I think it was like really beautiful, because crump for me, when I came to LA in that season, was like my tool to dig deeper in myself. You know, I really used it as a way to, I don't know how to say it besides like, sometimes I feel like we have so many barriers within ourselves from either words that people said to us, memories, maybe even how we talk to ourselves. And so crump was like, it's time to really face the darker parts of yourself so that you can show up. And so when I used to crump, when I would train with J-Bad, honestly, it was mostly just release. And I would even feel like something had just like left me, like, you know, just like anxiety or like, and it's still a process, but for me, I was like, dang, like this is a way that it's like a weapon for me in my own like combating stuff, but also just a tool just to help me see like, dang, like I'm a woman and I have something to offer, and I have confidence, and I'm beautiful, and it looks different because I'm not like always like, you know, but I love that too, because like I love the feminine side, but it's harder for me to connect to that. So crump was just kind of like my safe home to really build me up internally.
For it. Yeah, I totally agree. I can definitely vouch for that experience as well. I think when I first started, I wasn't very conscious of it, because I was just like, oh, yeah, like, you know, like there's this cool people, I just want to give it a go, like it looks awesome. And then you realize later on how much it actually does serve you in those times that you really need anyway. Yeah.
And so I think like now some of the things that I have like just been brainstorming and visioning for myself is there's like actual dance movement therapists, which I'm not one of those, but creating safe spaces. And I think especially for crumpers to like really let go of like pain and offense, you know? And I think for me, I'm somebody who grew up without a dad and grew up with a single mom, and like I said, there was just different hardships. And so I had, for majority of my life, I had such a strong fear of men, to the point where like, you know, like I think I might have told you this in person, but like even in dance classes, like I just couldn't look men in the eye, and I couldn't partner with them.
Wow.
And I think crump just helped me start to break out of that, as well as like just taking like process of, you know, allowing me to walk through it. And so for me, it's like, I want to create that space for other women that could feel like I did. Because for so long I was like, man, men are going to have power over my life, and I'm not going to be able to move forward. But the beautiful like shift is when I would go to Beast Camp. FUD was like one of the leaders. And he just like he honored women so well, because he would push me in the session. He's like, this is not the space to be comfortable. He's like, you're going to go in the session and he would always pull something out of me that I couldn't see at first.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like a reversal to me of like, wow, like God gets to show up through other men to be like pieces of healing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Damn, drop.
I,
How can I ask, like, so because you grew up without, did you meet your dad, or did you just like he was totally absent throughout the childhood?
so him and my mom were never married, but I knew him until I was 14. And then he disappeared. He actually disappeared. And
Mm,
so there was like a long period of time where I just didn't know where he went or,
right.
yeah.
And then so you said like you couldn't really look at people like men in the eye, and you had a distrust. Would you say how did that really affect you? Like, did you feel like you became more masculine, or the feminine override the masculine? Like, how did that process work for you? Yeah.
I think just naturally I I felt more like comfortable in the masculine side of myself. And I
Mm.
think my dad's like absence created in me this like uncertainty with my identity. So
Mm-hmm.
like this uncertainty to speak up or to show up fully as myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. Like even I'm always still learning, but like I would always I'm not technically shy, but it's like I just never knew how to show up because I would either feel like too much or not enough, and there was never the in between. And so the journey for me has been like, how do I rewrite my narrative for myself when my dad isn't in the picture? And knowing that my healing isn't just for me, but other women and then my kids, you know? So it's crazy because I think as young, especially since I was 14, some things that happen like that, they just get like trapped in your body,
Oh.
you know? And that's why like I love movement therapy or that, because like Crump actually like almost moved stuff around in my body where I was like, yo, like I didn't even know there was pain like that there, you know?
Yeah, well, I think like just as kids, because you're a sponge, you're literally a
Mm,
sponge. So you're observing a lot of the time. And then I feel like what happened is like you start storing the energy because this is how you learn. And then no one really tells you how to grow. No one really tells you how to release those things because you got to act a certain way in public. You got to behave a certain way. So those things stay there, and I can definitely like tell you from my experience, and then even seeing other kids and even just adults. Um, a lot of the times when there isn't a parent there, or
mm,
there's distorted relationships, there's always the not enoughness.
yes.
Always. 100%, because it's like you have, I guess, like your carer, like it's sort of like your parents were your world type of thing.
Mm,
And it's like boom, like something's just gone, something's happened, and it's like wow, like I don't know how to deal with these things, no one's telling me how to deal with these things. And that not enoughness is going to rig how you react to people, how
mm.
you behave. Yeah, it's crazy, and that's why I'm thankful that there are outlets and there are people that are giving outlets to these people. It's just so important that we need to, and I think it's like it's tough work for the like individual, but I think you grow like tremendously. But you have to just peel back these layers and, like you said, let go of the stories because that is not your identity either.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
God. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, my very first Crump class, that was like a master class. It was Beast who said this, and I remember leaving that class.
He
What was
was
that?
he was teaching it.
He was teaching it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He said this comment, and I when I left the class, I was like, I just was like, it just hit me. but he was teaching a movement, but he said, in order to have control of your life, you first have to let go. And part of me was like, I was like so confused, but at the same time I was like, yo, that speaks so deeply. And it just felt like a spiritual experience just from like just a class, you know? I mean, and classes are like that, but I remember I was like, I'm gonna come back. I was like, I just want to see what people say and how people interact. But I just love that even in, I think in dance communities, there is such, I mean, movement in itself speaks so much, even without words, that, yeah.
Tell me about like what got you on this. What was the starting point of realizing that movement is basically what we need to psych ourselves out? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for a while, I had known there was like fears in me. But I took this one workshop and it was called Spiritual Awareness. And this teacher, she was so bold. I was like, wow. She said the reason why we can't always show up fully and be ourselves is because of shame. Because shame tells us that there's something wrong with us. And so she had us go around the room and just say like something that we loved about ourselves. And then from there, she had us just walk around the room and look people in the eye. And I noticed the same pattern for myself. This was a little while back, a few years ago. And I refused, like I could not, it was so hard for me to look men in the eye. But then there was this moment, because we were just supposed to look at people and then like maybe lay a hand on them if we felt like, oh, I want to say something nice to them in my head. But this woman like looked me in the eye and then she just held me. And I was like, this is weird. But then something in me broke and I just like wept. And I was like, something's here, you know, something is here.
That's for sure. Yeah.
And I was like, yo, like there. And so I think from that moment, I was like, dang, like just using words isn't enough to release maybe some of the trauma or the pain I felt. And so like finding certain spaces for me to express or release, you know, is what is needed. And and so from there, I even went to like a dance movement therapy conference, and some of the leaders, they told me, they're like, at different stages of your life, certain things may come to the surface because your body feels safe enough to say, okay, I can release this now because it's been storing it for so long. And so for me, I'm like, dang, like how do I, so I think it really started, I mean, I would have to say it started for me about 5 years ago. And then it's just been like a journey. You know, different workshops, different friends. So
yeah. And then how would you say like now that you had that I guess like that shift in perspective, how do you approach dancing now? Yeah.
Well, I think what's crazy, it's so funny that we're doing this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly 2 weeks ago was when I finally saw a shift in myself, where like I finally see myself as like I show up and I know who I am and I feel confident. And it's crazy, and it's like I can't tell you a formula because for so many years with like stuff from my past, I was like, what's the formula to get me better, like to get me healed, like I just want this out, this anxiety, this feeling. But it's really just been such a process. And like 2 weeks ago, I was like, man, like I actually feel different. I feel founded. And so when I approach dance is like, I was like, this is my voice now. I'm not looking for it. Now I'm like, I'm showing you my voice and I'm showing my story because I have been able to just, there's just been certain parts that now are solidified in me. So it's, I have so much imagery, so hopefully it makes sense. I'm like right here.
You keep it going.
Yo, but just to like share like a crazy story with you, just to say like community is everything, is this, when I had this feeling of like, I'm like, wow, like I'm healed. Because I don't know, for women, this is what I've learned is like I'll be in certain situations and I'll feel really anxious, and then I'll be in similar situations and being like, wow, like I don't feel anything, like I'm healed, or I'm healing, you know. And what's crazy is these last 2 weeks I've just felt a big shift in how I like portray myself and how I just feel inside myself. And I had this spiritual leader message me and just say like, hey Cassie, we call these like something like words of encouragement. And he said, I feel like from the age of 12 you had this insecurity in you, but I feel like he's like, I just see you as like a new woman, you know. I don't even know this person, you know. I'm like, this is crazy because he didn't know at the age of 12 is when my dad left, and that's when the insecurities. So I'm over here like, yo, this is wild.
That is crazy.
You know,
crazy, but it's meant to be.
It's meant to be. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you feel like? So you feel like you're just this person, like you understand things now. So how do you feel now when you look back on having an absent parent? Like how does that affect you mentally? Because for me, for example, that took me a long time, a very long time to actually just understand what it's like, I guess, even for a parent, like to just put myself in their shoes and just be like, okay, like, oh, I get it now. You know, it wasn't because of me, it was because they need to deal with something in their little world. Do you know what I mean? And I think even just for me accepting that, because for so long, even just as a child, I was just like, yep, it's my fault, like I probably did something, you know, and you hold that like you hold that unnecessary. Yeah. So how, like, for you now when you look back, are you just like, what did you learn from this whole experience?
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I love hearing you too. You know, I still feel sometimes like it's still a journey for me, because sometimes I think as a kid unconsciously, like I did think it was me for so long. Like, oh, I caused this, you know. Even though no one said anything, I think you just interpret it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I think looking back, I have a lot more understanding and compassion for my dad because our personalities are identical. And so I can look at him and be like, I understand the choices that you made. And I have more grace towards you because of that. I think for me, it's more now like learning how to put myself back together, you know, from those experiences that like you said, like it's been a long time and it's been such a process. It's such a process. The process it feels like forever, but I'm finally in a place where I'm like, yo, like I'm standing. I'm like, I feel like I'm standing and I'm in control.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like it's so crazy. It's like with my line of work, like when it's just even it's just like I put so much like, because I just think dance is an exact reflection and um, replication of your life and you. Like it literally is. Like if you are dealing with something on the inside, and then the symptom is you being closed off or shy, it's going to appear in your dance, no matter what.
Yes.
And like I always see those both sides whenever I'm like working with people, even with kids, like I see it all the time. And just to finally like hear someone say like, yes, like, you know, like to feel how I feel, the empowerment, like soon as you get in there, it is so dope. It is so awesome. It's so good.
What a beautiful story, Nadiah. Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I think one thing I was going to say is like, Crump gave me permission to just be angry, you know? And I think that's what let me almost heal faster, just because I was like, man, I can just let it out. And I particularly remember there was a memory where we had to battle in groups, and like they had two teams or whatever, and then they would like rotate each person. And I was like, yo, I was like, on the inside, I was like, please. I was like, I cannot do this. But it was crazy because somebody was battling, and then it was our turn. And something in me, like, I can't even describe what happened, but I came out, and it's almost like I wasn't thinking anymore. And I just went like full out. And then they like shut the music off, and they were like, yo, what just happened? Not in a bad way, but it was just like, in that moment, I got to reflect and be like, dang, like my voice is a lot louder than I thought, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy.
Damn. So was that like the first time you were in like a battle format?
It was one of the very, beginning times. I don't think I had battled yet.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
yeah, I was terrified. But
Like, yeah, I feel like I get this well, not all the time now, but I used to get it a lot. But everyone was like, oh, Nadia, you look so like shy. You don't look like the person that would hold a lot of anger or anything in. Because I was very good at putting on a facade.
yeah.
But that's what you get when you like are brought up in these things. But and then when I danced, especially with Crump, like with Crump in general, everyone was just like, what the fuck? Like I wasn't expecting that. Like I wouldn't want to mess with you type thing. And yeah, I think that's like it definitely brings it I love it because it brings out the side that you're meant to hide, that society tells you. Yeah. And it's like, Crump, space, just be like, just bring all this shit, put it there, and it's out in the public, and we're gonna hype it up. I think it's so good. Yeah.
Yo, that is exactly it. I can tell you when I took classes at the Beast Camp, because they would do them weekly, so many times, like one of the leaders would be like, Cassie, stop hiding. Because I would hide. I would seriously hide. I would always be in the back of the room, and I would be looking down, or I would turn the other way because Crump felt so vulnerable to me. I wasn't ready for people to see my messiness, you know? And I think now I'm in a better place where I'm like, okay, like I'm going to show up fully with mess and beauty. But the hiding piece is real. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so good that you come to a spot where it's like you're not shy of it. It's just it's normal. I mean, like everyone goes through it, but it's like it's kind of surprise. I don't know now because for so long that it's like, yeah, like, you know, I'm used to this, like we do this work all the time type thing. But I have to like remember when I come across people that don't want to show this, it's like society says it's the norm type of thing. Do you know do you know where I'm getting at? Yeah. And it's like I really want to flip that because it's okay. It's totally okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like you said, if we flip it, we would see that we all struggle with things that are so similar, and then we'd be empowered, and then the safe space would be created, you know?
Well, shout out to Beast Camp being there for you. Damn.
Yo, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And so like these were like mostly classes, or did you also have like labs and stuff with them?
I mostly just took classes, and then I would go to the DC's sessions. They had sessions.
Yeah.
And that was such a great atmosphere that FUD created as well, because it was all like super welcoming and just show up and just explore. And like I said, he just push you in.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then I met Yaya later as part of RUR. And
Yes.
just, I mean, having female crumpers, oh man, it's a whole nother.
It's a different thing.
I was like, I can dance. I was like, I can finally dance. Because I was like, for some reason, I couldn't be as vulnerable around men. But like, when I was with around women, I was like, yo, like, I was like, dang, I was like, I'm actually pretty good, you know? Or I had moments where I could feel like that. So,
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. I had the exact opposite experience.
tell me, tell me.
Yeah. So because like, you start calm, you're surrounded by men, by guys, and they become your friends and stuff. So like I kind of got this like maybe I feel like I grew a little bit of an ego as well. It was like, I'm the only chick like around these dudes. Um,
Mhm.
and like not saying that I could at the time I definitely couldn't give them a run for their money. I was still like learning. But I definitely felt quite empowered being the only girl around these group of guys. Yeah. And I think that almost I feel like it almost grew me to be even more of like this masculine person, like have a lot of masculine energy. And I didn't realize that for a very long time. And every time I guess like a woman would come in, the the guys would say, like, hey, like, it's your time to like share, it's your time to like teach a little bit. Like, we don't normally have girls here. And like I had this pressure of like, yeah,
Mm.
like what if I don't like the girl because, I sort of like being the only person, but then what if they're here just for like I don't know, you guys, like type of thing. Oh my gosh, my brain would just go crazy. And then when I finally met like actual female crumpers, like that had been doing, I guess, like, for 5+ years or whatnot, I was I was quite competitive. That was all I had. Like
Mm.
I just met them in a competitive zone and I was like, I didn't really feel the empowerment that a lot of other women feel when they meet another person. Yeah. I was
Mm.
just like, yeah, like I'm gonna get in there. I've got this like competitive I had this like masculine energy like crazy. And it took me a while to really let that go. And I felt that came with like obviously inner work because that whole like not enoughness type of thing that
Mm.
definitely brings out a characteristic of competing,
Mm.
like like sort of like battling like who has more type of thing. So I had to like
Mm.
exude myself. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
crazy stuff. But I had the complete opposite experience. Definitely learned from it. Like I'm not like that anymore, but yeah,
Do
that
you
was.
feel like for you, was there like specific like like networks or friendships that like helped, I guess like help with that perspective or help you in that area?
I think I was definitely drawn to how do I say women with I guess a little bit more masculine energy, like me,
Mm.
because then they were competitive as well, and then I
Mm.
felt like we connected quite fast. But then we were still competitive towards each other, whether we really realized it or not. And then
Mm.
I think it was so I really held on to those relationships. It was always funny enough, it was always people outside my country, women
Mm.
outside my country that I connected with more so. And I think because most of the time the places that I went with Crumb, it was more like um, people were just there to like train and there to
Mm.
dance and stuff like that. So their level was a lot more higher, and they had a lot more drive with
Mm.
them. And I think I also respected that a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think from those relationships, it definitely, I guess it definitely showed me a lot about what it means to have, like, I guess, like, sisterhood, really. Yeah, because for that large amount of time, I struggled to be a big homie.
Mm.
Yeah, especially when a lot of girls want to learn from me, and then, oh, like, I felt like I was just too young starting to be a big homie. But I definitely learned how to, what's the word? How to be a better close mentor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely the networks outside helped me, like, ground me. Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy, like, the experiences are so different.
Yo.
Yeah.
And even for you too, Nadia, I think you might have told me this before, but was there, kind of like you asked me, was there a time where you were like, man, I want to focus on like movement that creates space to heal?
Mm-hmm. Um, I'm trying to think of the very pivotal moment. I think because I always had, so my partner, who was my big homie, well, he still is my big homie, but at the time, just my big homie. Um, he, yeah, he was very much into that. Like, he
Mm.
was very much aware of how much dance can help someone. Um, and I think that was always sort of like trickling in whether I was, like, really listening or not. So he definitely opened me up to that world
Mm.
slowly. And then I think just being in Crump, I realized, oh, like, it's a release, like, a lot more of the time for people, especially when newbies come in as well, like, straight away. It's really awesome to see. Um, but when I really, it's only been like maybe a year ago where I really tapped in to how dance can, like, really benefit the person.
Mm.
And not just on a, like, oh, like, I have to, like, release, I got so much anger and that type of stuff. Not like that. It was like movement. I did a workshop, a teacher's workshop, at this place called Jungle City Studios. So, like, I was teaching there. But this place is awesome. It's so authentic, so deep rooted, and, like, so the studio owner, she's basically known for being, the OG of bringing dancehall to Melbourne.
Wow.
Yeah. So she traveled a lot to Jamaica back and forth, just so she can bring dancehall into this space.
Wow.
And a lot of people, like, around Australia, really respect her as well and have learned from her. And so, like, with her, like, I feel like she just really, just understands, like, the nature of traditional dancing as well. I think, like, from her starting from dancehall, she can just, like, filter through, with
Mm.
traditional dancing, especially. Um, and so she also she's studying dance therapy as well.
Wow.
And so, yeah, she did a workshop on it, and she told us a few things about it, and that just opened my entire world. Like, the first thing we did, like, she instructed a routine where, basically, like, you start as a fetus, so, like, you're in here, and then, like, you start opening up, and then you go back in, and then you open up, and it's just all, like, meditative music playing throughout the whole thing, and you're just learning to breathe through it. And when we did all that stuff, it was like, she was saying something, I'm just going to paraphrase, but something like we start moving when you're in the womb. Yeah, like you're in this bubble, right? You're in this bubble and you're in an enclosed shape. So you have to like formulate how you move in this space in your little world. And also, like, I just got this thought as well. Because you can also hear things as well at the same time. So imagine like in a certain, and feel things as well. And in a certain position, you're feeling things, you're hearing things. And so you're storing that memory, that, I guess, vibe at that same time. And then when you're in a different space, let's say you're hurting your mother in a certain space, and you could be taking that in, whether you realize it or not. So then this certain like movement that you have when you come out of the womb and start growing up, you might not like being there. You might not like raising your hands. And I find this in a lot of dances. They don't like doing this. They always like start dancing in this space. I was one of those people.
Interesting.
Yeah. So crazy. Even like I took a workshop. Oh, it was a program for SLX program, the 5 days thing. So with tie-dyes, and then we had to go from one room to the other side, and you basically just had to like dance and basics, and eyes would just basically tell you like what you need to work on as you move through and as you progress through the room. And for me, it was like, yo, your arms, what are you doing? It was basically like that. He's like, you do tight stuff down here, but you do not use your life space at all, and you do not do this. I was like, oh man, like they caught it straight away. Of course they do. So then I had to do a round where I had to use this space. But at the same time, obviously, like you're using your hand gestures, you're talking. So one of it was like imagine you're talking to someone in front of you. And like I don't remember who I imagined, I'm not too sure. But I know that basically having the confidence to put my hands out here and look at my hands, it was so hard. I was like, yeah. And I think it was because also like it just trickles into everything about your confidence, the inner work that you need to do, the not enoughness, the shame and stuff like that. For me to put my hand just out here was so hard. Like it wasn't even technique, it was just like mentally like I don't feel like I can do this. I don't feel confident enough to even put my hands straight out here, you know. And then that's when I realized like there's movement is a direct reflection of you, because I was like, why can't I do this? Like, why can't I even look at my hands? I can't even talk like with my hands. And yeah, that's basically because, and at that time I was really shy as well. So it's like I don't have confidence in myself. I don't think I am enough to talk. Go up as me, as who I am. Yeah, just from these arms. It's just crazy. Yeah, crazy. And so now it's like now that I can move my arms around here, it's like I own this space. Like this is my space type of thing. And I'm allowed to use this space. Yeah. 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 And that's when I did the what's it called? that, when the alumni was doing the whole running the RUR sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I did that thing with you guys, like just moving and knowing your chemisphere and stuff like that. Yeah. So some people, that's what I mean. Like some people don't even go up here because they feel a little bit overwhelmed. Even if they look up, they would feel overwhelmed. And I really believe that's just because they don't feel enough.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I just vomited like all my stuff.
It's so good. It's so good. Because just to like quickly comment on that, like someone told me, like when I went to the dance therapy conference, different leaders said they're like, I can tell one of the leaders specifically I went to a seminar about women in abuse, and just seeing different people that are really like they work with really intense cases. But she would say she would put something like, say there's a piece of paper, she'd put something underneath it, and depending how the woman came to the paper and how they lifted it up, she could tell what they struggled with. Like that's what the body showed her. And I was sitting there like, I was like, this is real work. Like that's real work. And because they say like certain pain that you have in your life is here, and then this is just 1 year. Imagine 10 years and you're trying to figure out what's the root, you know? Wow.
Wow.
Nadiah, you're an inspiration. Yes, your story, your little conversations.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I think we're all inspirations.
Yeah.
That's why I just think you needed to come here and share and talk about what you experienced. I think, I really think I feel a lot of women especially find it really hard to like step into their power due to a lot of like trauma, especially for I feel like especially for the women who go through like um, without or having I should say having a distorted relationship with their parents, with their father especially. I find because this masculine power overcompensates, and then it's like, oh, what about my womanhood? And then especially when people get into crump, I feel when women get into crump where this is the crazy thing, people think it's like very masculine, but I think it's the complete opposite because vulnerability is like the softest thing that you could ever experience. And the fact that guys can do that better than women, even their dancing, you can see their dancing, they have more finesse than women a lot of the times, and it's crazy. And yeah. I feel like there is such a deficit sometimes. Women compensate, and this is part of the program that I'm doing, the comp program for ladies. And I know I've done this, maybe you have done it too, but I compensate this and my hips when I do. But you can definitely use it. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a journey because I think for a lot of women, like for myself, this connects, but it's like for so long, it was so hard for me to feel beautiful. And I think it's just like the connection of just what you experience, because they say you learn so much by the age of 2. Yeah. But like, I even have moments where I'm like, but it just shows you like that root, and that I like to call it just like a lie that I'm not beautiful. It creates a different foundation for yourself. And so for a long period of time, I used to just look myself in the mirror and I was like, I'm going to rewire my brain, and I'm going to say, because it's true, like there's an actual book that says switch on your brain, and like you say affirmations to start a new pathway for your mind to think. And so for me, it's like, so I just feel like crump was a way for me, like, okay, there's like a piece of me here. And then I started doing salsa, which was like complete different. But I was like, it makes me feel like a woman though, because I was like, it helps me break off shame. Like I was like, I can move my hips and my shoulders and I can just love who I am and how I show up, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so these very different spaces like help me embody myself collectively.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you elaborate on being beautiful and accepting that?
Yes,
Yes,
can you,
let's go.
you
So,
know?
but, like you can start, I guess, like why, like why do you know why that
Hmm.
came up?
You know, my earliest memory that I can think of is when I was younger. I used to look at other girls that were like close friends of mine, and I would say, wow, like I want their life,
Mm,
or I want to look like them, you know. And then I think as I got older, um, and as I was in relationships, I would just see how low my self-esteem was,
mm,
you know. And I think, I mean, it's still definitely a journey for me, but I'm a lot further to where I am now. But I think it's been a process of just being able, like sometimes I just confess like out loud, I'm like, I just don't feel beautiful. And I tell myself, I'm like, I remove that from my vocabulary and my life and I throw that away. And I was like, and I receive that I am valuable and that I am beautiful. And then so it's like, it's almost as weird as it sounds, it feels like a new muscle that I have to train
yeah.
because for so long I was like, I just want it to be like boom, you know, just
Mm,
happen like that. And for me it's like, oh, this is like crump where I build new maturity as I get on to where now like when I'm in certain situations, I'm like, there'll be moments I look in the mirror, I'm like, woo, yes. I was like, I look so good. And for so long I never thought that, you know?
yeah.
Now I can be like, yo, like I'm really beautiful. And on the days where I don't feel like that, I just go back and I have to just remind myself. But I think there's so many pieces of, like my parents and my dad, and then I don't know if I think relationships sometimes can play a piece, but I really just think it's like once I know what I have to offer and
Yes.
just who I am. And I think for me, God played such a big role in that because he was the one I think for me just was speaking a lot of truth of like, dang, this is who I am, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, damn, that's awesome. So, what would be a tip for, I guess, the ladies listening and who resonate with thinking, I don't feel beautiful? What would be
Hmm.
your word of advice to that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, ladies, first I have to say you are beautiful and you are valuable and you are significant. And so I speak that over you for you to receive. Uh, I would say it's definitely not a formula, but some tools that helped me was affirmations. Like I
Mm,
sat down and I would think of the things that I loved about myself or that I could say over myself. And if it was hard, I would do it again and again. And then, so, and every day I would, yeah, like I said, I'd sit in the mirror and it was just 5 sentences like, I'm beautiful, I'm significant, I'm influential, um, I'm wonderful, whatever it could be, and and sometimes for me too, I would talk to a friend and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, can you remind me or help me, uh, but yeah, it's definitely a process. And sometimes I even allowed myself, if certain memories came up, to say like, how can I rewrite that memory and get rid of, if
mhm,
I'm feeling stupid or if I'm feeling ugly, like how can I replace that immediately with I am beautiful. I throw away the stupid, you know.
mhm, mhm.
So
Yes, I think that's awesome. I think that's great advice. I just want to share something with you, and I
yeah.
think um, it's definitely honestly, it's still a journey for me.
Mm,
Um, just because of like my upbringing was just like it was in a Muslim household, so like you cover your hair, your
mm,
body, you always wear baggy clothes, that type of thing. And I think because I grew up like that, you're not necessarily um appreciating your physical body.
Mm.
And I think at the same time, because I had my mom's side of the family, so you know, they're not colored. They're all like blonde hair, like pretty. I think most of them have blue eyes, blue or green eyes, but like very light skin. You know, they can wear whatever they want, type of thing. And I think having that whole like other side in my world, I was like always comparing.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, like that's what beautiful is. Do you know what I mean? Because like they look like they had, like you said, like they look like they had the perfect life. They had
Mm.
everything they wanted. And then so for me growing up in that for so long was like, oh, there was always like this little I guess that was sort of like I kept that as like an anchor that was like, oh, that is what the beautiful image looks like. So I'm not enough in that sense. Um, and I definitely feel like I've definitely stepped into my power way more now. Um, but there's this thing that I tried out and it was so surprising. Um,
Mm.
so you know how you come up with the mirror work where you do affirmations and stuff like that, like you tell yourself and all these things. There's another way that people said to try out was like you stand in front of the mirror fully naked and it's like
Mm.
appreciate your body from head down.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my god, I can't do this. I was like, I feel weird. No, I can't do this. But it's
Yeah.
getting better. It's getting better. But it's crazy. I didn't realize that could have been an obstacle. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard of the same exercise at a workshop I went to as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because this workshop talked about like generational stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And but that was one of the exercises, and they said like, especially in relationships, shame, it just hinders us from just being fully ourselves. And
Yeah.
they said especially for women, like you get so many mixed messages. And even for me, like I'm still trying to process what does feminine look like for me? Like,
Mm-hmm. That's
and
it.
how do I just feel beautiful rather than feeling like I have to prove that I'm beautiful, you know? So that's where I'm just trying, I'm processing that. And so I totally hear you because, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, that got me. Woo. That's a good one. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I, yeah, I think the last thing, I just feel like I'm going to reiterate it. I just love women. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love, wow, just our process, you know. But yeah, I would just remind you, like, I would just like to say, if you're listening, like, we're all in it together. And like, I'm here for you, you know, like, I feel like our pain is collective, and just to really know that you are so valuable and that you have such a specific purpose, and just really knowing that you're beautiful. And yeah, yes, this is just I'm just trying to give you my peace and my love from the screen. So, but I appreciate you having me, Nadiah, and letting me share my story.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful message. I think people are gonna really, really feel it.
Yes, this little.
No, I really think that's great. And I think we definitely touched on some very, very valuable and important
Mm.
subjects. Um, yeah, because and that's what Raw Exchange is like. Women, it's for women to grow together. Yep, and we're growing together as we exchange too.
That's right.
Oh, this is so good. Well, thank you, Cassie. Thank you so much. Oh, where can people find you? Where can people watch you?
Yes, my Instagram is Cassandra with a C, Cassandra Tsolis. So my full name, and it'll be just a picture of me. Um, But yeah, I have some stuff up there, and you can always reach out to me if you have questions or want to chat more.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cassie.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure to have.
Yes.
I don't know how to finish this. I feel like I want to just like keep talking, but
I know.
We're good. Is this good for now? There might be a part 2. We'll wait for a part 2.
Oh.
Thank you so much.